Hi, this video is about the assignment expression operator, which a lot of people call the walrus operator, which is because it's a colon followed by equals, and if you turn your head to the left it looks like the eyes and the tusks of a walrus. I think it was introduced sometime during Python 3.8 point something, but you know that if you're using 3.9 and above that it will have been implemented. Now I looked at it originally and I thought, what is the point of that? So I thought it was about time I had a look at it properly to see what everyone was raving about. A lot of people say, oh no, Guido doesn't like things like that, therefore we shouldn't put it in, but it's very useful, I've found, and it's like people being again F strings. I mean, that's ridiculous. If your code looks really lame, then probably there's a better way of doing it. So it's easiest to show in the shell initially. Now just an assignment like that, you think, I don't know what that's done, so if you go X, yep, it's assigned 11 to X, but that doesn't return anything. Well, if you use the walrus operator, and it needs to be in a bracket, but not always, which I find very confusing. I will come on to that. That assigns 15 to X, but it returns a value. So if we do that, yep, it returns the value that has been assigned, and you can also print it out. So I looked at that and I thought, well, so what? But I've looked into it and I will show you what I found. Now my first thought was, why would you want to use, well, why would I want to use the walrus operator? And I had a quick look on the internet, and it's partly to stop your code becoming more repetitive, as in having to use the same functions over and over again, and also to keep your code a bit shorter by not having extra lines. So I'll just show you what I mean. Here we go. My password is that. If the length of my password is greater than 10, I print it's long enough, but I don't print the password, I print the length is long enough. Otherwise I say the length is too short. Right, 19 is long enough. Yep. If I just change it to that, it says 8 is too short. Now the problem with that is you are using len my password there, whoops, and there, which isn't ideal. So what you could do is create another variable here, and do that, and then just use my len. And you run that and it works like before. There, wonderful. But you're making your program longer with that line, and you're just creating that purely for that if statement. So you can get around it by using the walrus operator, as in as before, my password, and then I've got this, I've called it something different, it was my len before, it's text len equals, and I'm assigning it, I'm assigning the length of my password to text len, but I'm also returning the value. So that bit there is saying text len equals the length of the password, but it's also returning it, because that is returning the value there and it's comparing it to 10. And then you needn't, down here, you needn't have len my password or len my password. You just use text len because it's already been assigned. So if we run it, yep, 19 is long enough, and whoops, and 8 isn't long enough. So that's one way of doing it. Now you can also, if you get rid of that, if you look at this, that is just a silly function that is get value, and it returns 42 or it returns none. And this just means you're checking to see if excuse me, the function is returning a value. So you go if var, so that again is assigning to var the return value from get value, and as well as assigning it, it's returning it. So var is now equal to the return value of that, but it's also there. So it's saying if 42, which of course is true, or if it would return none, it would go if none, which is false. So if we just run that, 42. Of course this is a pretty useless example because it doesn't exactly do a lot, but you could well want to check to see whether a function is returning anything. Right, no value. So that's just a very quick introduction. So here's another example of where you can use a walrus operator in a while loop. So I've just got this. Right, just a question, valid answers, and user answer equals input blah blah, and then it's just while it isn't a valid answer, you say enter one of them and user answer equals blah blah. I suppose it would actually help know what's happening. Whoops. If here you just went no, copy like that. Yep. Right, do you like this video? Of course not. Yep, that comes out as no. Do you like this video? I didn't allow people to put in no, just N or Y. So that goes round and round and round, or you can go capital Y. Yeah, that works. Now, the problem with that is that you've got the user answer equals input there, and you've got the user answer equals input there. So you could do it with a while true loop. So I'll just replace that bit with that. Right, while true, user answer equals input. If it's a valid answer, you just break out. Otherwise, it says you need to enter one of those. Go back, go back, go back. Do you like this video? No, of course I don't. Suppose I ought to prove that it goes round. Yeah. Or you can do it with a walrus operator. So replace all of that. So what that does is it's taking the input from that question and it's assigning it to user answer, but it's also returning the whole lot, which will be yes, yes, no, no, dog, cat, whatever. And if it isn't in the valid answers, it just prompts you. It says, right, enter yes, yes, no, no, and then goes back. And that looks an awful lot cleaner to me. Does it work? G. Do you like this video? Yes. Oh, obviously you don't like this video. Right, so that's just one way of doing it with a while loop. Now, another thing you can do is you can check if something has changed. So I've just got this little bit of code here. Right, that is just a function that returns a value, or it could return something else. And without the walrus operator, you'd have to use a temporary variable, like. You're initially setting it up, so there's x equals 42, and the previous value, which is the extra temporary variable, is x, is equal to x, and then I've just gone, that's the setting things up, and then this is the guts of it. X equals calc x, so x is now equals to 42. Oh, I've changed that to actually 12 to begin with. And then it says, if the previous value, which is 12, because it was 12 in x, 12 is not equal to x, print x has changed. Yep, that works. And if I change that back to 42, that works. But rather than having that previous value thing, you can do something quite cunning if you use will you stop calling a walnut a walrus operator? So there. Again, you've set up the dummy value for just for this demo, and here is the walrus operator. So that bit is calling calc x, returning 42, and putting the value into x. So that is just saying I'm assigning x equals 42, and while I think of it, I will just change that to something so it won't be true. Right, so there we go. That statement has called calc x, returned 42, so now x equals 42, but that bit is now equal to 42. It's returned it. So what that says is, if x is not equal to, so if 12 is not equal to calc x, then you have to do something. Yep. And all the time, of course, next time you came round, if you did that again, the value of x would have changed to 42. So if we run that, x has changed, I need to do something. Does exactly the same, and there x hasn't changed, therefore I don't need to do anything. So that to me is just a lot neater. But you can use this for checking whether a button has been pressed. Now this is kind of what Paul always does in his programs if he's checking for a button being pressed. So you have but state old, which is set to 0, but state new, which of course is but state 1 is equal to 1, and then I've just got this thing, as opposed to pressing the button, I've just got this function saying get but state, which returns 0 or 1. So that is getting the but state. So in this circumstances, but state is 0. And then this says if but state old equals 0 and but state equals 1, that means the button has been released. Yep. So run it, nothing happens. And that's because it returned but state 0. So but state was 0, not 1, so it wasn't true. So in order to test it out, there, button has been released. But as I have kept going on about, I hate that. Why do that when you can do this? Because if you're checking, in Paul's version, if you're checking to see if but state old was 0 and but state, I always want it to be but state something, and but state equals 1, as the only available values for that is 0 or 1, you can just say if but state old is less than but state. So that is exactly, yeah, that's exactly the same, only I've changed that horrible if but state old equals 0 and but state equals 1. So we'll try running that again. Right, it didn't do anything because it wasn't true, and there, button has been released. But in both those versions you still have to have this extra temporary variable for but state old. So you can do it with a walrus operator. So here we go. There, you're setting up but state to initially be 0, and then you're doing it all in one if statement. So here, that is the walrus operator, and what that does is it calls but state and it takes the return value, which is 0 in this thing, and it assigns it to but state. So in these circumstances, that is now the return value, which is a 0. So it says if but state 0 is less than that, which is 0, print button has been released. And you do have to remember that after you've done that, but state will be the new but state value. But while you're doing it, I didn't mean to say but, while you're doing it, that is the previous one. So if we run that, nothing happens because it returned a 0. If you do it returning a 1, button has been released. Now I think that is brilliant. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Now this is my final example, and it's a little program that is just doing a bit of analysis of a file. So it's reading in a file, it tells you how many lines there were in the file, how many words there were in a file, and how many characters there were in the file. And for this, of course, we need the file. Need some files. Where is it? No. Walrus test. There. That's my test, which has got 2 lines and 4 words, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 I make it, because you have to count the end of line characters. So that's what I'm running it on. So what this does is it's just getting the file, and it's setting up the path for the right file name, and it's creating a dictionary that says the lines entry is path read text blah blah dot count, and it's counting how many new line characters, and the number of words, it's just saying I'm splitting it up. I'm reading that len path read text thingy, and I'm splitting it up. No, I'm not reading that. I'm taking that and I'm splitting it up, and then I'm taking the length of it, which will be the word count, and then the number of characters is just the length of the text, and I'm just printing out file name and a couple of blank lines and then the count. So we'll see what happens. Right, so there you go, 2 lines, as I said, 4 words and 19 characters. So that's one way of doing it, but you can change it rather than having all that, you know, path read text, path read text, path read text. You can change it to this. Right, so you've actually set, that was as before, you've set text to equal path.read text. So I've replaced, wherever it said path.read.text, I'm just going text, text and text. So that ought to work exactly the same way. I can't remember. Did that work? Clear that. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. Or you can use the walrus operator. So we'll take that and replace all those lines. And what this does is the counts. It's creating this dictionary, so it goes lines, and in here on the first one you're using the walrus operator. So it says text is now it's now equal to path.read.text, which is good. And then when you come down here, as opposed to having all that in there, you just have text and text, and that makes it an awful lot cleaner. So there we go. That's my last version. I'm sure there are lots of other examples, but I'm not going to bore you any longer.